just want to begin some news that many of you may have already heard. Our longtime Bishop Edward Slattery, for the last 8 years, our Bishop Emeritus, died this weekend. It had been, for Bishop Slattery, a long road. The last 6 months or so, a lot of suffering, a lot of pain at the end of his life, and he's now gone to his eternal reward. So you'll see just up here to my right, a little tribute to him with his zucchetto and his mitre. The funeral plans, we'll send all this out to everybody, but it will be on Saturday, September the 28th, and then there'll be evening activities on that Friday evening and also on that Thursday evening. So lots of opportunities for you, the faithful, to be able to come and to visit and pray with the community. Many of you are new to the parish or maybe even new to the diocese and so never knew Bishop Slattery. But I'll just simply say, you'll hear more in the weeks ahead, but was a giant of the faith, right? He was our bishop for 22 years. He'd be the first to tell you that he wasn't perfect. He'd be the first to encourage everybody here to pray for his soul now that he's gone. But the amount of things that he did for this diocese, in the vocations, in our outreach to the poor, in growing multiple ethnic communities, our Hispanic community, the Vietnamese, the Burmese, really just a marvelous man in many, many, many respects. So if you would, just in your charity, please pray for him, and then we'll get you all that information about funeral plans, and hopefully you can participate as much as you can. Father Joshua is out of town this weekend, and so it's just me, and just want to take an opportunity to do a little housekeeping and then say a few words about the gospel today. I just simply want to begin by saying I've been here for 2 months, and I love it. I love it. I've had a lot of great assignments in my 17 years as a priest, and this has just been wonderful. And so really, I just begin by simply saying how grateful I am for your warmth, your hospitality. I know getting new priests and priests moving around is not an easy thing on a parish, and so it's just been a great blessing. We are growing. We are growing. I've been here for 60 days. And when a new family comes to the parish and registers, I get an email. And then I email that family, just simply to introduce myself and to say hello. I've been here for 60 days. I've sent 49 of those emails. Now, a few of you out there, you've been here for a couple years and you just got around to registering. I know who you are. I said welcome, and you were like, I've been here longer than you. We're growing, and it's really quite beautiful to see. Our school is growing. So many of our ministries are growing. And so just want to share with you some news that we just completed this week. We are hiring 2 new youth ministers for the parish. They will be full-time youth ministers. One of them will serve our middle school population, and one will serve our high school population. Again, those numbers are growing. We're making a major investment in the young people of our parish. And so it's a sacrifice. It's going to take a lot. It's a lot of maneuvering. We don't have enough office space, all that good stuff. But Alexis Nguyen, who's actually here today, Alexis is going to be our new middle school youth minister starting tomorrow. And Sky Creed, who has been the last 2 years up in Wichita as the national director of Totus Tuus, that beautiful summer program that has been around the United States. Sky is going to be our new high school youth minister. So 2 new hires that I think are going to be wonderful for the young people of our parish. Understand that parents are the primary educators of their children, but the parish also has a role to play, and we want to be of support to our parents and to our young people. Secondly, we're going to change a little bit the way that we operate at the end of Mass. It's very common in Catholic churches, including ours, that the end of Mass kind of seems longer than it needs to be. Many times you'll hear those dreaded words from the priest, "Please be seated," right? And everyone's like, "Oh no." So 2 things we're going to do. We're going to make a change in the way that we do second collections. They're going to be much more rare, if existent at all. And what we're going to do instead, when there is a second collection for a particular cause, all good causes here in the U.S. and around the world, in the diocese, what we're going to do is just rather give a percentage of the one collection to go to that particular cause. And so if you have envelopes or if you want to give to that particular cause, you can put on there and we'll add that to the percentage total going forward. And then we're also going to do fewer announcements at the end of Mass. And what I'm asking of you and what I need from you is just to pay more attention to the stuff that we're already putting out. We have the bulletin, we have the Friday flock note, we have the website, we have social media, we have lots of opportunities for you to know what's going on in the parish. So I'm simply asking every person to spend a few minutes every week with what we're already putting out there, and that will make the end of Mass announcements pretty unnecessary unless it's something really, really, really current. Finally, especially at this Mass, if you've been downstairs after this Mass, it's quite a scene. I was told before I got here, wait till you see that 10 o'clock Mass, and wait till you go down for coffee and donuts. Well, I don't get down there very often because we have confessions, but what I've seen, I just need two things from all of you. We need a little more order downstairs. All right? We need a little more supervision. We need a little more cleaning up after it's over. We just need kind of one level up of everybody paying more attention to where your particular children are and what they're doing, and then cleaning up after ourselves. It's something that I think we can all accomplish and make that experience for everybody a little better and a little bit safer. On to the gospel. What a gospel. Jesus comes to the apostles and he asks them a very important question. He says, "Who do people say that I am?" He takes this kind of opinion poll and they say, well, some say John the Baptist, one of the prophets, Elijah. And then he flips it. Jesus looks right at those apostles and he says to them, "Who do you say that I am?" We just heard it, and I share that with you. It's a very pointed question. And it might be the most important question that Jesus is asking you and me. Who do you say that I am? I'll share with you just a note in the life of Bishop Slattery. Bishop Slattery had a very clear sense of who he was. Again, knowing he wasn't perfect, but Bishop Slattery was a disciple. Bishop Slattery had the Lord Jesus at the center of his life. And he lived that out in a particular way. He lived that out as a priest, and he lived that out as our bishop for 22 years. If you didn't know, Bishop Slattery was ordained a bishop by Pope John Paul II. That wasn't because Tulsa is special, even though it is. It just happened to be when his time was up, January of 1994, Pope John Paul II was having a bishop's ordination, an episcopal ordination in Rome. And so all the bishops of that time got to go to Rome and be ordained. Monsignor Geer has joked over the years that Bishop Slattery's head is a second-class relic because St. John Paul II laid his hands on his head to ordain him a bishop. But when we think about the life of Bishop Slattery, when we think about the life of St. John Paul II, what we see in them is we see a life of generous service, of pouring out oneself for the good of the gospel. We see that here too. It doesn't have to be a pope or a bishop or a priest. We see people all the time in our own families, in our own community, pouring themselves out for the good of others. John Paul II had a phrase for this. He called it the law of the gift. The law of the gift. And what he means by that is that our lives are meaningful only in the measure with which we give them away. Our lives are meaningful only in the measure that we give our lives away. To put it bluntly, selfish people are not happy. Generous people are happy. Our lives are meant to be given away. Our lives were meant to be poured out in service to those around us. Back when I was a seminarian, I had a meeting one day with Bishop Slattery. He came home for Christmas break. All the seminarians would go and meet with him one-on-one for maybe a half hour or so. It was a Friday afternoon, and I walked into his office, and he looked really, really tired. And I said to him, Bishop, are you feeling okay? Are you okay? And he looked right at me, and he says, Brian, pray that you never become a bishop. And at the time I thought, oh, okay, yeah, sure. But I said, well, yeah. I said, why do you say that, Bishop? And he said something really profound, and I've never forgotten it. He said, I became a priest to serve my people. I became a priest to do the things that priests get to do, weddings and funerals and baptisms, to preach at Sunday Mass, to hear confessions, to do all those things and to be involved in the life of people. He said, as a bishop, I just don't get to do that very often. He said, it's been a real cross. And I've never forgotten that. He said yes when the Holy Father called to become our bishop, but it was a sacrifice. He had to leave his home in Chicago and come to Oklahoma, where maybe he had never been before. And here he served for 22 years, plus 8 years as a retired bishop. That kind of sacrifice is inspiring to me, and I hope that it is to you. We see it in the gospel when Jesus says that those who try to save their own life, those who lose their life for the sake of others, will save it. It's this life of service, a life poured out for the good of others. That's what makes us happy. Coming out of the second reading from St. James, ultimately it's what's going to help bring about our salvation, that our works follow our faith. This is the life that you and I have been called to. It's not easy. It's not easy. In fact, it's quite difficult at times. Many of you are going through difficult things. We're called to take up our cross and to live our lives in the service of God and each other. That's our task. That's our mission. And we do that not on our own. We do that with two great helps. The first is God himself, who gives himself to us in the Eucharist to strengthen us. And then we have, my friends, each other. We have this beautiful parish. We have the church that's given us great men like John Paul II, great men like Edward Slattery, and many, many, many others. We have the Lord and we have each other, that we might live out our gospel call to give our lives away for the sake of others.